So before we proceed to the series of discussions that we will be dealing with, let's try to create a flowchart that will serve as our guide for our upcoming discussions dealing with the cytoskeleton. Okay, so remember that cytoskeletons, these are the cellular structures that are responsible for the cell's shape as well as for the support and the cell movement. So let's have the cytoskeleton as our topic. You have cytoskeleton. So cytoskeleton can be divided into three categories depending on the types of fiber. So the first one will be the microtubules, in which it is the thickest among the other types of fibers. And then on the other hand, the next one is the intermediate filament. Okay, and then the last one will be the microfilament. So among these three types of fibers, for the cytoskeleton, microfilament has the thinnest forms of fibers in terms of its diameter, in which in the middle, or let's say the middle range, when it comes to the diameter, we have intermediate filament. So the diameter of the intermediate filament can be, let's say, larger than the microfilament, but it is smaller than the microtubules. Hence, its diameter is within the middle range. And take note, class, that there are some cell organelles that are made up of microtubules. So what are the other cell structures and organelles that consist of microtubules? And these are the centrosomes, also known as the centrioles. And then the next one, you have cilia. And then the last one will be the flagella. So these are some of the structures within the cell that consist of microtubules. And we will discuss it one by one. Okay? So let's begin with the concept dealing with the microtubules. So recall that microtubules, they have the thickest diameter when it comes to the fibers among the three types of fibers among the skeleton, or let's say cytoskeleton family. So this is the illustration of the microtubule. Okay? So it is made up of a hollow tube. So it consists of hollow tubes. And let's try to discuss this structure. So this is an example of the structure of the microtubule. Okay? So let's try to discuss its size. So approximately the diameter of the microtubule is 25 nanometers. Okay? And then on the other hand, the length is around 200 nanometers to 25 micrometers. So these are the dimensions or the size of the microtubules, which is the thickest as compared to the other fibers of cytoskeleton. Okay, so we have this size. Okay, and take note, this hollow tube of the microtubule is actually made up of a wall, in which this wall of the microtubule is made up of what kind of protein? Okay, so we can identify the name of the protein, in which this protein that serves as the wall of the microtubule is the tubulin. So this will be the illustration of the tubulin. Okay, so tubulin refers to the protein that can be found within the microtubules. They serve as the wall of the microtubule. And take note that the tubulin as a protein consists of dimers. So we have column of tubulin dimers. So what do you mean by a dimer. So this will be the definition of a dimer. If you will notice, we have two subunits. So therefore, a molecule that consists of two subunits will be known as the dimer. So molecules that consist of two subunits will be known as the dimer. It is a molecule that consists of two subunits, and we can name these subunits. And these are the alpha subunit, and then you have the beta subunit. So these are the two subunits of the dimer. So this is the exact composition of the microtubule, which is made up of tubulin as its protein. Okay? So in addition to that, we will proceed to the functions of the microtubules. So at this point, let's try to discuss the different functions of the microtubules. So first, let's try to enumerate these functions. So let's have number 1. So for number 1, its major function is that it provides shape and support to the cell. Okay? So different types of cell have different shapes, and these shapes were actually came from the microtubules. In addition to that, it supports the other organelles. Number 2, it guides the vesicles from the Golgi apparatus, or let's say Golgi bodies, to the cell membrane. Recall, class, in our previous discussions that the vesicles that came from the Golgi bodies can move towards the other organelles, specifically to the cell membrane. And actually, it was guided by the microtubules. So vesicles were actually guided by the microtubules. Okay? So for the third function, okay, so it is responsible for the movement of the organelles and chromosomes within the cell. Did you know, class, that different organelles as well as chromosomes can move from one place to another within the environment of the cell? And it is possible because of the presence of the microtubules. So microtubules are responsible for the movement of the organelles and chromosomes within the cell. And in addition to that, it is responsible for the cell motility. Motility means movement, or let's say cell movement. For example, you have bacterial cell. Remember that bacterial cells can move from one place to another, or from one location to another. Another one is the sperm cell. So sperm cells can travel since they consist of microtubules within the tail. So these microtubules are responsible for the movement. Okay? So for the next part, other parts of the cell consist of microtubules, and these are centrosomes or centrioles, cilia, and flagella. And that will be the main topic for our next video presentation.